All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and candidates. My name is Jeff Hall, and I'm a past president of the Drumheller District Chamber of Commerce. I'll be your chairperson for this evening. This forum is hosted by the Drumheller and District Chamber of Commerce with support from the Hanna and District Chamber of Commerce. Our volunteers for this evening are timers, Heather Bitts and Laura Creasy, audio technician, Bill Wolf, registration and security, Lana Phillips, Tammy Dietrich, Jennifer Dixon, Tunji Bello, Rahul Gunja, Jack LaGrange, Sandra Bodine, Nalia Tahir, and Samantha Haddon. The general format for the forum will begin with each candidate presenting his or her platform. We will then move into our question and answer period, which will be for 60 minutes in total. Partway through, we will break for 15 minutes and then continue with the question and answer period. Questions have been prepared in advance, and there will be no questions taken from the audience. After the question period, we will finish with each candidate summarizing his or her platform. At this time, behavior, which would include shouting, interrupting speakers, or heckling, will not be tolerated. Applause will be permitted at appropriate times, but excessive cheering, booing, or other loud reactions that interfere with the event will not be allowed. Anyone who violates these expectations will be asked to leave the premises. There is no holding up of signs. If you hold up a sign, you're waving for our security to take the sign from you, so please don't do it. If you have one of these, turn it off or turn it on mute. Now, we will begin with each candidate having 3 minutes to present their political platform. The format of the presentation is entirely at the discretion of the candidate. The timer will raise a yellow warning card with 20 seconds left and ring a bell at the end of the allotted time. No candidate will be allowed more than their allotted time, and we'll ask them to be seated. During the question period, I will read the written questions and address them to the candidates. The order for responding to the questions will rotate each round. Responses to questions will be limited to 1 per candidate to maximize the number of questions that can be fielded in the allotted time. The 60-minute question period will be split into 2 30-minute sessions. Candidates will have 1 minute after the question periods for closing remarks or to summarize their platform. I would now like to introduce the candidates. In alphabetical order, and hopefully they're all seated in front of their signs, so it was not to mess me up. Grant Abraham from the United Party of Canada, Bonnie Critchley, Independent, Michael Harris, Libertarian Party of Canada, Ashley McDonald, Green Party of Canada, Pierre Poilievre, Conservative Party of Canada, Darcy Spady, Liberal Party of Canada, Catherine Swampy, New Democratic Party, and Jeff Willerton, Christian Heritage Party of Canada. So before the forum, candidates drew numbers to determine the order of speaking. The order will be Darcy Spady, Grant Abraham, Jeff Willerton, Ashley McDonald, Bonnie Critchley, Michael Harris, Pierre Poilievre, and Catherine Swampy. At this time, I would like to ask Darcy Spady to come forward and present your political platform. Absolutely.
There'll be lots of walking back and forth. My name is Darcy Spady. I'm from Three Hills, and I'm running as a Liberal candidate for the Battle River Kerfoot election on August 18th. I'm from Three Hills. I've been connected my whole life to this riding. In fact, I'm 3rd generation in this riding, as is my partner. I've always loved coming to Drumheller. And thank you, Jeff, and thank you to the Drumheller and Hanna Chambers of Commerce for putting this on. Drumheller always had pleasant memories for me. As a kid, we roamed the canyons. We'd look for adventure, and we'd look to get into trouble, and it was always a fun day. I'd often come down to visit my dad's cousin, Dr. Bill Spady, who was the local chiropractor. Some of you might remember him. And I'm not sure what he was doing to me, but he and Dad would go on regaling about Castor stories and what it was like in the Battle River Valley. That old office is still there on 3rd Avenue, I think, the brick building, 2-story. I recall there was always a rather youthful portrait of the Queen hanging on that green wall whenever I went for a visit. So I have very good memories of Drumheller as a kid. And then later on, when I became an oil and gas guy, I'm a petroleum engineer, University of Alberta, and I became involved in the oil and gas industry. We spent a lot of time in Drumheller. I grew up close to the Ghost Pine operations over in Morin. I was involved with operations down in Brooks, and then up in the central Alberta Stettler area, I've been involved in the field operations, cementing, stimulating, intervening, and then later reservoir work in the oil and gas industry all around here. I see the old PCP office is still going strong on Railway Avenue, but enough of the nostalgia. I'm here to represent you as your Member of Parliament in Ottawa. I would like to earn your trust as a local champion, and here's how. I believe that because I've spent 35 years in my job, in my career, I'm happy to end that career and be your representative. I understand the energy industry, including methane reduction and energy transition, which I've been involved with here. I also understand agriculture. I've got a couple crops growing west of Acme, some nice looking canola and some wheat that needs a few days of heat. But I believe I can represent the farming and the energy sectors. I chose to run with this government because our country is facing existential threats. And some of these threats, including annexation and all the disruption from the US, I want to make sure I can sell my crop with certainty when it's harvested. I want Canada to demonstrate stability, including for commodity prices. The new government is breaking internal trade barriers and speeding up national projects. Thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. Next to present his platform is Grant Abraham of the United Party of Canada.
Good evening. Thank you very much for coming out tonight with this mic set. It's very nice to see all the Drumhellians out for a good conversation about what's going on in this country. My name is Grant Abraham. I'm the leader of the United Party of Canada, and it's a party that has been set up to actually auger into the real issues and the discussions that we need to be having, not just a discussion about the symptoms that seem so commonly discussed in this country. And I want to touch on a few things here. I am an Albertan, born and very happy and proud to align with the values that I see demonstrated in Western Canada, and particularly in Alberta. I'm not from this riding. I'm not trying to pretend that I am. My only real connection with this riding is that my mother graduated from the school in Three Hills and has many close connections with her generation on that level. My discussion here tonight is to, first of all, ask you to listen for discussion about root issues or symptom issues, because we have a root problem in this country by actually not engaging these root issues. And we need to talk about things, not just the issues that are very live at the I suppose the things, the door knocker pieces that we hand out. We're here to talk at that level about equalization. We're here to discuss the actual Federation of Canada and whether Alberta actually wants to be a part of that. We're here to talk about Alberta energy and whether we can truly unleash Alberta energy and still be bound to UN statutes that limit carbon production. And so my discussion and my time tonight is to bring you the truth as I see it, because I'm going to ask you to decide tonight which of the two candidates that you're going to vote for. One that actually represents the true freedom that we've known, that we yearn for, that we miss in the loss of our Canada since we saw COVID unfurl. And the other is the overreach of Ottawa in our lane, impeding our development, getting in between the relationship between parents and children, and limiting our prosperity. And so the Canada that I love is one that has a proud heritage, that is loved, and it is wrong to feel shame about our culture, values, and traditions. We need to understand that multiculturalism has failed. Immigrants need to become Canadians and not create cultural ghettos. If they hate our culture, values, and traditions, they should go home. Militant Islam is not compatible with our culture, values, and traditions. Reverse racism is racism. Farmers are producers and not polluters. Carbon makes things grow.
I will now call Jeff Willerton of the Christian Heritage Party to come forward.
Thank you, Jeff and Chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jeff Willerton. I'm the proprietor of a small marketing company, the author of 4 books, including the underground bestseller Fix Canada, and a veteran of both Canadian Armed Forces and the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. And if you remember only one line from tonight, I hope you remember this: if you always vote for the lesser of the available evils, you'll always have an evil government. And the red team and the blue team aren't just evil, they in fact work together. If he wasn't already there, for instance, Brian Mulroney climbed on board the climate change bandwagon when he signed the Rio Declaration in '92, leading directly to Justin Trudeau's economy-crushing carbon tax in 2019. In 2007, Stephen Harper, along with one Pierre Poilievre, signed the United Nations Sustainability Act, leading to Chrystia Freeland declaring a third of Alberta off-limits to production a few years ago. You might remember the incident in Grand Prairie at the time. And in 2009, the same Stephen Harper signed what was called the Codex Alimentarius. This seemingly innocuous legislation about the labeling of food and drugs paved the way for the red team's assault on our natural health products industry in 2023. So one team sets up the shot, the other takes it. That's how it works when you have 2 major parties that are essentially wings of the same bird. Sometimes they work together in unison, like when not a single member of either party raised so much as a finger to stop Bill C-4 in 2021, which threatens you and I with up to 5 years behind bars if we happen to tell little Johnny that he's a boy. So the Tories aren't the solution. They're very much part of the problem. And both they and the red team have been working together for decades to land us in this carbon tax, Gaia-worshipping, freedom of speech crushing hell in which we find ourselves today. How did we get here? By bouncing between the blue team and the red team for these 158 years. How do we get out of this mess? By escaping that blue-red paradigm, obviously, but better parties with better colors, like Royal Burgundy, for instance, can't take power without winning their first seat. And in my closing comments, I'll tell you more about what I am convinced is simply the best outside-of-the-box political option in this country, bar none. Thank you and God bless.
Thanks, Jeff. I will now call on Ashley MacDonald of the Green Party of Canada.
Hi everybody, my name is Ashley MacDonald. I'm the Green Party of Canada candidate here in Battle River Crowfoot. I'll be flat out honest with you, I don't live in this riding. I live next door in Red Deer. It's not easy being a Green in Alberta, so there's not a lot of us willing to run for office. I am happy to be here to be the Green voice for the constituents of Battle River Crowfoot. Hopefully a few of you have your minds changed tonight, but we'll see. So, the Green platform is one based on the idea that change is possible, but you have to vote for it. We are living in a moment of profound disruption, from climate disasters to rising authoritarianism, from hospitals stretched past capacity to housing costs that defy logic. People feel the ground shifting beneath their feet, and they're being told to put their faith in stability, to trust that the same institution that created this crisis will somehow get us out of it. Change is not going to come from the top down, and there is no going back to normal. What there's always been is us. This is a platform, the Green Party platform, is for everyone who's been pushed to the margins, people who've been sidelined, underestimated, or ignored, and are done with the status quo. People are organizing, showing up, and demanding more. This platform is not a collection of slogans or half measures. It is a plan to transform the systems that shape our lives, because nothing short of transformation will meet the moment we're in. It tackles the root cause of inequality, wealth hoarded at the top, public services gutted, communities left to fend for themselves while billion-dollar corporations profit from the crisis they helped create. It is a platform that confronts what most political parties are afraid to say, that the system is working exactly as designed, and it's time to design something better. We at the Green Party of Canada believe that Canada stands on its own feet, takes care of its own people, and leads with courage and conviction, where food, housing, and healthcare aren't treated as privileges, but as essentials, where Indigenous rights are not in a line in a speech, but a lived and legal reality. We are a truly bilingual country, ready to engage with the world, where no one is left waiting for care, priced out of the neighborhood or punished for being poor. We believe in a Canada where ability to live a good life doesn't depend on your income, your race, your gender, your mobility, or where you live, where public money serves the public good, where anyone has what they need to live in dignity, from a guaranteed income to a place to call home. The platform is not about playing it safe. It is your invitation to stop settling for less, for later, for leaders who always seem to find a reason not to act. So if you want change, true change in this country, consider voting for the Green Party of Canada. Once again, my name is Ashley McDonald.
Thanks, Ashley. I'll now call on Bonnie Critchley, Independent.
I hate these microphones, but I'll make do. How's everybody doing tonight? Had a little bit of rain. Done cooking for a little bit, I think. You'll notice I don't have any prepared remarks, because my entire goal is to be your voice. What I have written on my platform is what I have been told from Oyen to Wainwright, from Castor to Three Hills, Acme, Linden. I have been all over this riding, and I'm not done yet. And my platform is what you, the people who live here, have told me you want to see. You want to see changes. And that is definitely going to be the theme for the evening, I think. If we continue to do what we always have done and vote for our teams, nothing will change. That is why I am running as an independent. I have no team. The only people I respond to are in this room and the rest of the ride. I mean, there's 80,000, 100,000 people who won't quite fit in here, but we can try. We can try. So my goal is things like right to repair. I'd like to see a rollback on the Trudeau-era firearms regulations. I want to see agricultural innovation come back to the farmers, come back to the country, not the corporations. Same thing with the veterinary clinics that are being sold off to corporations. Or even, if I look at CFB Wainwright, Veterans Affairs services are now being provided by Loblaws. That is unconscionable. But unless we do something to change and stand up for our neighbors, we will continue on the same path we are going. So I am asking you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, consider some change. My entire goal is not for ego. It is not for my own personal aspirations. It is so that you, my neighbors, have a voice in Parliament. My voice, your words. It is very much your words, ladies and gentlemen. And that is what I want to see in Parliament. How about it? Is that what everybody else wants to see, is your words in Parliament? My name is Bonnie Critchley, and I am running it as an independent because I will report only to you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Bonnie. I will now call on Michael Harris, Libertarian Party of Canada.
Thank you for inviting me out here tonight. I'd also like to thank the city of Drumheller, as I am a third-generation citizen of this town, and I'd like to thank all the members, community members, and citizens of this town for inviting my grandfather to live in this town. He was fighting and trying to fly and escape from authoritarianism back in Europe. He lived in the United Kingdom during World War II, and he was trying to escape the Blitz. And no other town in Canada took us in, except for the town of Drumheller. So I would not be here today if it wasn't for all of you in this room and not for the people and your ancestors that allowed me and my family to live here. Now, I always like to say, most people are libertarians and they just don't know it yet. If you don't know me, my name is Michael Harris. I'm running with the Libertarian Party of Canada. And if you hate taxes, if you hate overburdening regulations on your businesses, if you hate the centralized agricultural system that we have here in Canada, aka also known as supply management, if you think that we're getting a bad deal in Confederation from both equalization and we're being told that we don't have the right to self-determination, but yet, at the same time, they expect our votes, they expect our tax money, and yet we're told to sit down and shut up. And today, I'm here to be your voice, to hear about your policies. And then I've gone around today and the rest of this election to talk about thousands of people that want to see change in this riding. They want to see the government not steal money out of both of their pockets and not give anything back. I have seen towns where they have not had access to infrastructure developments since they were originally put in the ground. Some roads haven't been redeveloped in 60 years. There's some towns in this riding that are still having to use groundwater. I've talked to a lot of people in this great city here that are still using groundwater, for heck's sake. And yet we're still expected to pay our taxes every single year. I'm told as a libertarian that if we keep paying our taxes, the roads will get built, the water will come to my house. But yet at the same time, I'm not seeing either of those things get done. So if you believe that you're getting screwed over by the government and want someone who's going to fight the government and not work for the government, I expect for you to vote for me, Michael Harris, on August 18th. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. We'll now call on Pierre Poilievre, Conservative Party of Canada.
Well, thank you very much to the Drumheller and Area Chamber of Commerce, to the fellow candidates, to all of you for being here, to my incredible friend and selfless patriot, the great Damien Couric, and also to my family who put up with me. It's been so great for all of us to be back here in Drumheller. I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, so we would regularly come to Drumheller, and I have many childhood memories. Tyrrell Museum, it was so gratifying to bring my little guy Cruiser, as he goes by, Spider-Man, to go and see the dinosaurs and learn all about this incredible world-famous excavation in Drumheller. The riding of Battle River Crowfoot feeds, powers, and protects Canada. Feeds through the great ranchers and farmers, powers through the incredible oil and gas workers, and protects through the soldiers at CFB Wainwright. The local issues in this region require national leadership, and that's what I seek to provide, just like I did when I led the national campaign to get rid of the consumer carbon tax, which is a local issue in an energy-producing rural area that has to spend a lot of money on energy. And now there are many more local issues that require national leadership, like the Liberal ban on your pickup truck, which would grind this region to a halt, or the Liberal ban on your hunting rifle, which would mean many people would not be able to feed themselves, or the Liberal ban on pipelines and shipping oil off the northwest coast of BC, which harms the local economy in Hardisty, that place that ships $90 billion of oil, or the ban, even on rodenticide, the strychnine ban, which might seem like a small issue, but can destroy 25% of the crop of a prairie farmer. I want to legalize rural life again. Legalize your use of a pickup truck, of a hunting rifle. Legalize the export of our most valuable natural resource, oil and gas. Legalize our farmers to do their jobs, because we know they understand how to be stewards of the environment greater than any other bureaucrat in Ottawa. All of these things will require national leadership, national partnerships with other regions of the country to do as I did with the carbon tax, force the government to overturn these policies, present a government in waiting that will make the common sense of the people of Battle River Crowfoot common across our country. Thank you very much.
Catherine Swampy, New Democratic Party, to present her platform.
Nanaskama mamudai maki semanito hai hai ento tente kanotski skau. Nasiga son bi semaya bewasquo egwa okomau ki hio kisagosquo. My name is Catherine Swampy and I am from Sampson Cree Nation and I am running to be your next member of parliament. I'm here representing the New Democratic Party of Canada. So as many of my counterparts up here have said, you have a choice. There's more than two parties out there here to represent you. A lot of the things that I have on my platform, I will get into them, but I do want to mention a handful of things that are being said at the doors. So I've visited so far 52 communities. And as I'm out there knocking on the doors, a lot of the things that they're bringing up are things that are being ignored by the government. So I get it. I'm running. I'm going to lose. I'm here to advocate. So I'm here running and I'm trying to bring to attention things that are otherwise ignored by the government. One of the most shocking things that was brought to my attention was the desire to bring back the Canada Wheat Board. So I was shocked to hear that, it's been gone for quite some time. But a number of farmers are asking, well, can you bring it back? Can you advocate for it? And I said, you know what? I will put it on my platform. I will talk about it. I will bring it up. They're also really shocked to find out that it wasn't the Liberal Party that got rid of the Canada Wheat Board. They're shocked and they feel blindsided to find out that it's their own party that had been the ones to remove this. So bringing that up, there's also a very environmental, cumulative impact desire to bring to the forefront. A lot of people are concerned about the droughts. They're concerned about a lot of the lakes that are drying up. I was out in Bittern Lake and there was a lady who had lived there her entire life and she was shocked to see how dry everything was. If you go out there, you can drive on the lake because it's entirely drying up. Now I can put on my economic lens and be like, look at that land, we can sell that land, but come on, there's supposed to be a lake there, there's supposed to be water. She's concerned that oil and gas companies are the ones taking that water and using it. Speaking of oil and gas, did you know that there was 44,000 abandoned oil wells in this riding alone? Did you know that it's going to cost something like $4 billion to fix it and the government only put $1.5 billion towards fixing them or cleaning them up? Meanwhile, the oil companies that got billions of dollars pumping the oil out of there decided that, you know what, we're not going to fix it. We're going to leave it there and we're going to let the government, i.e. all of your tax dollars, be the ones to clean that mess up. I don't think that's fair. I don't think you should think that's fair. I'm here to advocate against that. Why are they using our tax dollars to pay for that? Sorry, I'm seeing some yellow cards going up. So before I get off of this stage, I suppose I should talk about my platform here. So affordability, the budget deficit, economy and jobs, environment, healthcare, housing, Indigenous relations, mental health and addictions, public safety and crime, taxation, small businesses, and seniors. I also, before I run away, want to do a shout out. There's one more candidate who didn't get the opportunity to sit up here. Hi, Sarah Spanier.
Thanks, Catherine. So now we're going to commence the question and answer period. From the written questions, I will read the topic and the question, and then one by one call on each candidate to respond from their seat. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond. Again, there will be a 20-second warning card displayed, and then the bell will ring at the end of the time. So you're going to respond from your seat with the microphone in front of you. Bill will activate that when the time comes. And we're going to rotate who starts the question so that we're not continuously going this direction. So the first question, we're starting with Grant, and the topic is growth and prosperity. So small and medium-sized businesses are struggling with rising costs due to inflation, supply chain disruptions, and interest rates. What measures will you take to stabilize costs and support the business sustainability? Grant, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Well, the rise in costs are to do with the fact that our dollar is half the price, and we're buying items from around the world, and that's what's driving the inflation. So yes, we can talk about all these issues about what is actually driving costs up, but let's talk about the fact that we just had a budget approved, not approved, and we have over $2.5 trillion in debt. We have an agenda of Liberal government to actually see this country undermined. It's called post-nationalism. It's called a reset of this country, and they're asking Alberta to pay for this. This is why equalization is the point. $20 billion a year go out of Alberta, and you want to help Alberta families and businesses, stop equalization, and then the ideological engines will stop, and Alberta will be free, independent, secure, and proud. That's the root conversation here, folks.
Thanks, Grant.
All right, I'm going to try this sitting down. I've got sergeant majors the country over cringing as I sit and talk, as you always stand up to speak. But they've asked me to sit, so I will try it. All right, so growth and prosperity and how to stabilize things. First things first, have our government stop selling us out to corporations. Have corporate lobbyists stop selling us out to corporations. Again, I point out Veterans Affairs has brought in laws to take care of our veterans, and I can tell you from first-hand experience, it sucks. And then we have the Mars company, for instance, like the chocolate bar, hedge funds buying out private veterinary clinics, and suddenly we're paying twice, 3 times as much for our veterinary needs. We need our country and our government to stop selling us out to corporations. Lobbyists will find me very difficult to work with, as I will do my utmost to bring power and money back to my neighbors.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Well, truth be told, the businesses of this riding and in this country have been muzzled, and they've been muzzled for decades. I'm honestly surprised that we still even have investment in this country, how we've been conducting ourselves. Where I talk to business owners all the time in this riding, where they are living on paycheck to paycheck, running their business, where they can't afford to even invest in their business, let alone support any growth. The issues and root causes of that are taxation and regulation. A lot of times, if they want to be able to invest in their businesses, they can't because they have no money to. The government just sucks up their paycheck and doesn't give anything back to them. I've talked to a lot of business owners that want to produce specific things in this riding, or that they want to produce a lot of things to be able to beat out their competition. They're told that they are limited on what they can do. We are out here fighting to end regulation and try to fight to lower your taxes as best we can to save the businesses of this riding. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Ashley.
Thank you for that question. So basically for the Green Party of Canada, it boils down to a fair economy. A fair economy doesn't just create wealth and make sure that workers get a fair share of the prosperity that they helped to create. But for too long, workers have been dealt with low wages, unstable jobs, and weak protections, even as the cost of living goes up. There really is no economy without workers, and no economy worth having that doesn't treat its workers fairly. Our policies ensure Canadian workers and their communities will be supported by meaningful protections that safeguard them against abuses and ensure that continued access to employment opportunities and training programs. So Canadians ultimately are scared right now. We're in a trade war with an erratic leader down in the Americas. We need to establish a national strategy of reserves for Canadians that will protect us from these price gouging, from inflation, and make it a lot easier for everyday Canadians to actually live and exist within their day-to-day lives.
Thanks, Ashley. Pierre.
The high cost of doing business is the result of the high cost of government. That's in 3 different ways. First, the red tape and gatekeeping that blocks businesses from making money to begin with. Worst of all being C-69, the anti-pipelines law, C-48, which blocks us from shipping our oil off the West Coast. I'd get rid of those, and I'd slash the red tape so businesses could make money faster. Second, high taxes, which punish businesses for actually making the money. I would cut back on those taxes, in particular allowing people to have zero capital gains tax when they reinvest their proceeds here in Canada. And third, governmental inflation. And that is because government spends more than it has, it prints money to pay for it, that bids up the goods we buy. We need to cut bureaucracy, consultants, corporate welfare, foreign aid, handouts to fraudulent refugees to bring down debt, taxes, and inflation. Thank you.
I think the key for growth and prosperity is having a healthy country from coast to coast. And the Prime Minister has demonstrated that he can handle it. He's been a businessman for most of his life. The reason I'm running here is I've been a businessman for most of my life too. My business isn't politics. I actually worked in industry for most of my career. Now I would like to join a strong business person in Ottawa who runs the economy like he was a Bank of Canada governor and like he was a Bank of England governor. These are large economies. So for me, it's very simple. I'll ratchet it down to my world. What's our pipeline capacity from coast to coast? How many pipelines did we get with the last government? And where can we ship our goods? What's my canola price? Do I have strong trade relationships with China? And will I get a decent price when I take the crop off this fall? So to me, the basis of prosperity is strong, solid leadership with a business background.
Thanks, Darcy. Catherine.
Did you say Catherine?
Catherine.
Sorry. So who will stand up for small businesses as we face a trade war? Small businesses are one of the engines of job creation in Canada, and it's an important in every part of the communities all across our country, not just here. Small businesses were hit hard by the pandemic, and then by supply chain, and then by the cost of living and inflation crisis. And now they're being hit hard by the trade war. So the Liberal Party had to be dragged kicking and screaming to support small businesses during the pandemic. And the Conservatives are only concerned with the biggest corporations. As you heard them talking about oil and gas, how is that small business? New Democrats have called for aggressive building programs to keep people working and spending money in their communities. The New Democrats want to see greater supports for businesses to help them maintain jobs in the face of a trade war. We also want to cap high credit card merchant fees at a maximum of 1%. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Jeff.
Thank you. Growth and prosperity is limited by our high taxes, of course. And our high taxes are necessitated by our debt. We're $2.5 trillion in debt if you add up our unfunded liabilities. And CHP, Christian Heritage Party, advocates not only a dramatic reduction in the size and role of our government. I think our governments are probably 5 times the size they need to be. But with those lowering costs, we envision replacing income tax, both corporate and personal, with a consumption tax. The country that goes there first is going to be the luckiest country in the world because everybody's going to want to come here and we will be the envy of the world. So we envision no income tax, you keep your whole paycheck, and corporations flourish because they're not hampered by red tape, bureaucrats, and high taxes. So it's going to be a better world under CHP government. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. You guys are awesome. You're keeping on time. That just means we're going to get more questions in. Lucky you. Next topic is national and economic security. So how do you propose to strengthen national unity while addressing regional discontent in Alberta? And we're going to start this question with Bonnie.
All right, I feel better. I was told I was allowed to stand up. Much better. Well, national security. I'm going to be blunt. We have a lunatic on our south border. He is not bound by his word. There is no negotiating with a crazy man. So working with our military to manage national defense is imperative. Way back when, I seem to recall, I think it was the Harper era, that said less tail, more teeth, and they managed to succeed in doing the opposite. As for regional, and understanding that Alberta is choked with Ottawa for good reason, one of the things I am looking into to help this is electoral reform so the election is not over by the time it hits Ontario's western border. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Michael.
Well, I'm going to be honest here. The Eastern governments have for too long taken advantage of the West here. They don't treat us as an equal partner here in Confederation. They treat us as just another colony. They just take, and what do they give back to us? We have equalization where they take billions of tax dollars from you and we don't see a cent back. We have a lot of people here in this community here in Alberta that are calling for a referendum on Alberta independence, and I'm proud to say that I'm one of those supporters. I believe that Albertans and every single person in this country, because we live in a confederation, have the right to self-determination. If the answer is yes, and the people still wish to remain in this country, then that's their choice. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't be forced to stay in a country that we no longer wish to be a part of. And I believe that needs to go to a referendum, and I'm here to support it best I can. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Ashley.
Sir, can you repeat the question?
How do you propose to strengthen national unity while addressing regional discontent in Alberta?
Well, that's a big question. I don't think anybody really has the right answer right now. Like, we're too busy fighting one another, arguing over East or West or Alberta and Ontario. You know what, I was born in Calgary, spent, I would say, most of my adult life in Alberta. I hear the anger, the discontent. I personally don't share it. I understand that we don't get our fair share, but, you know, nothing's perfect. Our federation can definitely be tweaked and made better. The Green Party definitely wants to create a council of Canadian premiers and things like that that'll make it easier for us to actually work together rather than being dictated to by Ottawa. But the idea of separation, you know, we're better off as a whole instead of just being one piece in the middle of a country. Thanks.
Thanks, Ashley. Pierre.
Well, it's a pretty broad question, national security and national unity all in one. But in under a minute, I can think of one thing that would contribute massively to both, and that is to unleash our greatest and most powerful resource, which is oil and gas. The Liberal government attack on our energy sector has divided our country and made us helpless and more dependent on the Americans. Because Liberals have been blocking pipelines and LNG plants, we give out roughly 90% of our oil and gas to the Americans at massive price discounts. We need to change that. Mark Carney wants to keep the ban on pipelines and LNG plants. He wants to keep the energy production cap. I want to get rid of all of those. Let's get rid of C-69, legalize pipelines, offshore shipping, LNG plants, more energy production, so that we can become a self-reliant, sovereign nation that unites our people from coast to coast. Thank you.
Thanks, Pierre. Darcy.
So as an oil and gas guy, I'm keeping score, and I think in the last decade we got 2 pipelines through. The decade before that, we got 0 pipelines through. So if we're keeping score, I think we've actually got pipelines to Tidewater as opposed to the U.S. So to me, we have a prime minister who has a plan, who's acting like a business person. He's dealing with the neighbor to the south in an effective manner. I believe we're going to see funding for the military. It's already started. Why is the bridge between CFB Wainwright and CFB Suffield not sufficient to roll tanks over? Maybe we should put some infrastructure dollars into the military right here in Battle River Crowfoot. Maybe we should process our durum before shipping it to Italy for pasta. There's lots of really good things that tie both national security, economic strength into what we can do coast to coast in Canada. What I'll offer you right now is, if you vote for me, I will be the 3rd representative from Alberta in the government. That's where the sausage is made. Thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. Catherine.
New Democrats will make investments to help keep our communities safe. No one should feel unsafe in their own homes and their neighborhoods. The Conservatives with Pierre in cabinet fired 1,100 border officers in one day. That actually made it easier for illegal firearms to come across the US border and into our communities. The Conservatives with Pierre in cabinet cut crime prevention programs and slashed $600 million from the RCMP budget, making it harder to keep people safe. For 10 years, the Liberal government refused to reverse Conservative cuts and rehire the 1,100 border officers, and refused to take stronger actions to tackle gun smuggling and drug trafficking at the border. So we will strengthen our border and our major ports. This includes rehiring the 1,100 border agents that were cut by the Conservative government, and we will support community-based crime prevention programs and launch an...
Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you, Jeff. As I mentioned earlier, my book is entitled Fix Canada. I obviously believe it can be done. And if Margaret Thatcher can turn England around, if Javier Milei can produce the first balanced budget in 128 years of Argentina's history, and if the a good godly government down in El Salvador can turn that government around, and it is that country around, then anything's possible. That said, on the issue of regional dissatisfaction, I think the laws are in place in this country that regions of provinces can choose their own destiny. And I believe that we should be free to do so in this country, in this province, and elsewhere. I think if I don't advocate it, I want to fix the country as a whole. But if it happens, I think other provinces will follow our lead, if in fact we go. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Grant.
Thank you very much. With respect, Mr. Moderator, I'd say that those two questions are so significant it should be split, but for the time that I have, let me say, with regard to national security, I'd identify who the agents of foreign interference are in this country, so you knew which of the MPs in this country that are the spies that you're actually voting for. And I'd probably start by getting the leader of the opposition to get the appropriate security clearance to actually tell us. I know he doesn't want to talk about that, but I've only got 25 seconds. So if you want to really explore the issue, look at Section 15 of the Foreign Interference and Security of Information Act. He has a clear exemption if he does it in the public interest, reasonably believing that you will be kept safe. And the economic question, amazing comment for you about President Trump, but I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant. To clarify, the first words out of my mouth are the topic as to what category they fall under, and then it's the question. So the topic is labor and workforce development, and the question is businesses continue to face severe skilled labor shortages across multiple industries. How would you reform immigration, credential recognition, and training policies to better align with the workforce needs? And we'll start with Michael.
This damn chair keeps trying to trip me. Basically in this country, as a student myself, I studied at the University of Calgary for political science. We are capped on the amount of people that are allowed to attend our universities. And we're told that the only way to get a proper education is that you have to go through university, and a public university at that. We're discouraging homeschooling. We are discouraging going into trades. We are discouraging having private schools here in this country where you have the choice where you want to learn. And of course, no one is wanting to work in trades anymore, because when I was in school, and still am, I'm being told that there is no money in trades. Well, if anybody knows where we live here in this province, this is the province of trades. The big money makers are those that work in the oil patch, those that work in carpentry. If you are wanting to get trades, there should be no roadblocks from the government to be able to go and get a good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Ashley.
Thank you. Immigration is one of those things that become a hot button issue for a number of years, the last few years that we've been talking. But immigration is such an important thing for the Canadian fabric. we have, 35-ish million people, 38 million people in this country right now. Our population is aging. We don't have a birth rate that's matching as people are aging. We need better immigration to actually offset those people leaving the workforce, people who are entering retirement years, going into homes, things like that. The Green Party believes we need to better structure our immigration system to actually serve the people and serve the people who want to come here. As it comes for a credential, I once went to school with somebody who was a lawyer in the Soviet Union. They couldn't understand why they couldn't be a lawyer here. I get why they couldn't be a lawyer here, but a heart is a heart, a brain is a brain, blood is blood. Why can't a doctor from Pakistan just come and become a doctor here with a simple credential review?
Thanks, Ashley.
Here. So the questions about immigration, workforce training, and credentials. So on immigration, the temporary foreign worker program has gotten totally out of control. Large corporations are using it to drive down the wages of our youth and prevent them from getting jobs. We must cut back on the number of temporary foreign workers, limit it to farms and very low unemployment places, but make sure that all jobs go to Canadians first. Second, on workforce training, we need to back the trades. That means partnering with employers, unions, and polytechnics to open up massive new spaces for our young people to get the red seal and get working in our licensed trades. And on credentials, we need a professional equivalent of the red seal, a blue seal, so that licensed professionals who come from other countries around the world can take a test, prove they're qualified, and get working. That would give us 20,000 more doctors, 32,000 more nurses. Let's get them working. Let's make our people healthier. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Darcy.
I think stealing is a Newfoundland issue, but I'll move on. My family are immigrants. I'm here because of the generosity of the Canadian government back in 1905, and we moved here and we loved the system we came into, and we worked and spread out through the country. I know that Canada is the desired place of all nations. When in 2017 I was elected the global president of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. I traveled to about 49 different countries and spoke at many places and visited many places. There's always a lineup of immigrant people wanting to be immigrants at the Canadian Embassy. We have a tremendous situation in the world where people want to come here. It is up to us to manage it correctly, and I believe the balance between trades, technologies, and universities working with the incoming immigrants, making more new Canadians is where we have to head.
Thanks, Darcy. Catherine.
It's nice to see that a lot of the conversation surrounding immigration has changed since the last debate. As I stated before, immigration is vitally important to Canada. We do have an aging population. There is a large number of baby boomers who are retiring and leaving a lot of the jobs open. I feel like there's opportunity here to solve a lot of the issues that we're facing. We're facing issues in our healthcare with not enough nurses and doctors. If we bring in immigrants who are nurses and doctors, they can fill those needed positions. We're talking about needing farm hands and needing people to come in and assist in the trades and assist in a lot of the small businesses that we have. Majority of the small businesses that I stopped in throughout the ridings, they were all immigrants. So I more than welcome, bring them in. We need them. Our communities need them. A lot of the families are built on them. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Jeff.
Immigration, we're all immigrants at the end of the day, if you go back far enough. And so we can't be opposed to it generally, but we've had far too much of this country for far too long. And when our kids can't get jobs because the government is subsidizing the wages of foreign workers, we have a problem. Christian Heritage Party advocates a complete temporary pause on immigration until such time as we get our own house in order, get our unemployment numbers down, or our unemployment numbers down, and housing costs in order and things like that. Immigration is causing a lot of problems. I'm not opposed to immigration, but it has to stop for the time being, again, until we get our own house in order. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Grant.
Well, I'm certainly pro-immigration, but for most of your lifetime, our immigration rates have been between 75 and 150,000 people a year. When I checked this year, from January till July, I think we were at 850,000. We have a supply side issue with regard to immigration for our infrastructure. I'm sure someone will correct me if that number is incorrect, but we have a supply side issue. We're seeing it in our houses, we're seeing it in our hospitals, we're seeing it in our schools, and this needs to be reviewed. And it actually impacts our economy. It's impacting what Canada is. You'll notice that Quebec is passing legislation that is recognizing that multiculturalism is not working. They're saying that we actually need to integrate. And I think Canada, the rest of Canada needs to think about that, because there is a proud heritage to this country, and I want to see that protected so that everyone who's coming to Canada actually becomes Canadians.
Thanks, Frank. Lonnie.
Well, they do say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, so I am very happy to hear Mr. Poilievre echoing my comments from the Camrose Forum about changing the skill requirements or allowing skilled immigrants to come in. Because as has been said by other panelists, our population pyramid is inverted. We have a far older population that we are not replenishing. Do I still think that we need to slow immigration? Yes, because we do not have the infrastructure. I firmly agree that we should not have this much freaking paperwork for a doctor to be a doctor. If he or she can pass the same exams our doctors can without having to do all that schooling, fantastic. Let's get them in here. Let's get them working. And the other thing for not just immigration, but for skills, is I want to see more spots in schools. I want to see trade schools. I want to see post-secondary schools. I want to see increased funding from the federal government investing in our youth.
Thanks, Bonnie. Our next topic is energy infrastructure and supply chain. So businesses rely on efficient transportation and trade corridors to access domestic and global markets. What is your plan to invest in and improve trade infrastructure, including rail, highways, pipelines, and ports? And we'll start with Ashley.
Yes, thank you for that. Ultimately, the Green Party platform would look at sorry, my brain does not want to work today. I don't know what is going on with me. So ultimately, we feel that it's time for Canadians to stand up and fight for our economic independence. We need to establish national strategic reservoirs of Canadian resources to protect against U.S. trade disruptions, stabilize domestic markets, and strengthen Canadian sovereignty. We need to invest in east-west trade infrastructure, improve rail, roads, and energy transmission lines to strengthen our internal markets and reduce reliance on U.S. exports. We need to ban the export of unprocessed resources, ensure Canadian oil, minerals, timber, and seafoods are refined, processed, and value-added before export, creating Canadian jobs and reducing U.S. leverage over our economy. We also need to apply taxes on key Canadian resources that the U.S. relies on, such as oil, gas, uranium, aluminum, potash, and natural gas.
Thanks, Ashley. Pierre.
We need pipelines, rail lines, LNG plants, ports, bridges, and more. Now, the Liberals have been blocking all of this stuff for the last 10 years, and some thought Carney would be different. We even tried to support him in getting legislation to expedite these things, but it's clear he's no different, probably worse. His energy cap will make sure that Alberta cannot produce enough oil to fill another pipeline. And his continued ban on offshore shipping means there'd be nowhere to put that oil if it did get to the Pacific. We need to repeal those policies. So only the Conservatives propose getting rid of the nasty 9 Liberal laws and rules that are keeping Alberta's energy in the ground where Mr. Carney wants it. Conservatives want to bring our energy to the surface, make this the fastest place to get a building permit anywhere on Earth, build an LNG plant, ship our resources overseas and not just to the United States so we can be strong, self-reliant, and sovereign. Thank you.
Pierre. Darcy.
I agree. We do need corridors for energy, and it seems to me that we're moving in that direction. In fact, in the last few weeks, we've seen the Prime Minister sit down with the premiers, and everybody is in agreement to move ahead, and move ahead for good economic reasons. As an oil and gas guy, in addition to having the chance to move our product to Tidewater with both natural gas and oil now, we also have to celebrate the fact that we are embracing the carbon footprint of our energy so that places like Europe will take our natural gas because it's the cleanest, it's the best produced, and a thriving carbon offset market can actually help operators right here in Battle River Crowfoot pay for changes that reduce emissions and making the gas more green. We have the best in the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. Catherine.
So I'm going through my platform and I don't have that much for infrastructure. And it's not that I'm not going to focus on infrastructure, it's that the lovely people that helped me write this up didn't actually have that on their platform. I do have housing, and that is a local issue. So I do want to go into the solutions rather than all the rhetoric here. The government needs to use every tool at its disposal to help people find homes they can afford. We'll stop big corporate landlords from buying up affordable homes and give nonprofits more funding to buy homes and keep them affordable. We'll build rent-controlled homes on public land, and we'll support the first-time home buyers with the CMHC-backed mortgages. And we'll launch massive house building programs to help create jobs, keep our economy going, and make sure people can find homes they can afford. This is a Build Canada, Use Canadian Materials to Build project. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. You got a good name there. But Bill C-69 is an anti-tanker ban, or a tanker ban, I should say. And by extension, it is an anti-pipeline ban, anti-pipeline bill. So the Tories are not, despite their claim, they are not the only party that's going to bring an end to all these bills that have been brought forward by the Liberals over the years to thwart our resource industries. On supply chain, we need the ports, we need the rail, we need everything we need to get our products to market. And lower taxes, smaller government will make all these things quite feasible going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Grant.
Well, folks, let me just say that in excess of 80% of Alberta's economy is traded with the United States. So what do we need to do? We need to add value, we need to build some refineries, and we need to recognize that despite all of this great sounding sound bites that you're hearing today, Canada has been signed into treaties that is stealing your economic sovereignty and your actual sovereignty as people. And if we want to actually have our energy release and create the kind of wealth that Albertans and Canadians can have, Mr. Poilievre needs to answer a question for us and tell us whether he'll actually revoke the UN Paris Climate Accord, because it's a massive curtailment on our ability to unleash our energy. So until we can deal with these treaties internationally, our infrastructure is going to be curtailed. And that's the agenda with the Liberal government, and you never hear that discussed by the Conservatives. Can you answer that question, Mr. Poilievre?
Thanks, Grant. Bonnie.
Well, that was an awful lot of focus on oil and gas, yeah? How many farmers we got in here? How many small businesses we got in here that need to ship their product back and forth? So how many people would like to see more paved roads? Would like to see roads that don't have potholes that swallow your car or your truck? I think the only reason I survived the last one is because my truck slipped it a little bit. I've been to Daysland. I've been to Holden. I've been to Oyen. I've been to all these places where they're missing pavement, where they're having trouble with water. So as your MP, my voice, your words, I would be digging hard for federal infrastructure grants that help us with inside the riding to increase our internal trade before looking outwards. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bonnie. Michael.
I'm going to be honest, I think this question is a little bit biased to those that are on the stage running for Prime Minister, because I don't know any ports that are in this running, Battle River Crowfoot. So I'm not running here to be your Prime Minister. I'm not running here for the national level. I'm running here to support the infrastructure and the community here in Battle River Crowfoot. And let me tell you, if you guys think the situation here in Drumheller is bad, I was completely wrong when I stepped foot out of this city, because I go to towns like Acme, Linden, or Riley up north, where they haven't had paved roads since the town was originally built. We've completely abandoned our infrastructure here in this community. We're still expecting that we're supposed to be paying the same amount of income taxes, provincial taxes, municipal taxes every single year, and yet our communities and our small communities are left behind each and every year. I'm on this platform because I want to see better rural development for here in our communities. Not just for the people here in Drumheller, but for all those smaller towns where if probably a politician on this stage here looked at a map, they probably couldn't name that town. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. All right, this is going to be our last question before we take a 15-minute break. So the topic is growth and prosperity. And the question is, Canada has fallen behind in economic growth compared to peer nations. What specific policies will you implement to improve Canada's tax competitiveness, reduce red tape, and drive investment? Starting with Pierre.
Thank you very much. And you're right. Our economy produces $53 for every hour we work. In the US, it's $80. We've had the worst productivity growth in the G7 under this Liberal government, and the policies of Mark Carney are making it even worse. Higher government spending, blocking resource projects, increased red tape continue under his leadership. How do we unlock growth? We have to unlock the free enterprise system. We need to cut taxes on work, investment, energy, and home building. We will cut income taxes so that work actually pays off. We'll get rid of the capital gains tax when we reinvest the money in Canada. We will get rid of the industrial carbon tax so that we can produce energy at a lower cost. And we will take the federal sales tax off of all homes under $1.3 million and incentivize municipalities to remove fees and charges as well. Less tax will be more production, more paychecks, and a stronger economy.
Thanks, Pierre. Darcy.
I think the Prime Minister has committed to being the strongest economy in the G7. I kind of like that, and he's got a little bit of business experience, and he's run a couple central banks, as I may have noted. And so if anybody's out there in the G7 group that might know the levers to pull, I believe he's the person. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm running for this, to represent you in the government benches as he does that. He is committed to moving the economy to an east-west as well as north-south position so that we can benefit across Canada as Canadians, as one Canada, building Canada. We're going to have immigration that's balanced and isn't one way or the other, but we're bringing in new Canadians as we need them. We're making sure they're getting in the trades, and they will have a job to do because they're building the economy that we're committed to, including defense spending. And I think the carbon tax was removed for consumers, and we need to have polluters pay and large emitters pay, and not the consumers who are utilizing.
Thanks, Darcy. Catherine.
Life is already too expensive for Canadian families. They can't afford to bear the brunt of this trade war that no one in Canada asked for. And our services like healthcare are stretched to the breaking point. And that's why we need big businesses and the wealthiest to pay their fair share of taxes. Both Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre are planning tax cuts for the wealthy, and you and your family will pay the price. Mark Carney has spent his entire career using tax havens to help his companies and avoid paying taxes and to help his clients avoid paying taxes. Tax breaks for the wealthy and tax hikes for you, that's the wrong approach, particularly right now. Our focus is to tax relief for you to make life more affordable, a middle-class tax cut and a higher tax for billionaires, no GST on diapers, home heating, and other essentials. We'll make sure the very wealthy pay more so we can invest in services for you and the needs that your family has. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine.
Jeff.
Ladies and gentlemen, going after the rich doesn't stop at the rich. Those numbers just keep going down. And eventually everybody's equally poor under a socialist system. But we have, I think, well, we're one of the highest tax countries in the world. And don't interrupt me. Anyways, we are one of the highest tax countries in the world. That is impeding our growth and our prosperity, obviously, completely. The Christian Heritage Party is the party that will eliminate income tax, as I said before, replace it with a consumption tax. So you'll pay taxes when you buy coffee, you'll pay taxes when you buy a house, you'll pay taxes when you buy a car, but you'll keep 100% of your paycheck and able to do it. We will be the envy of the world under this situation, and our growth and prosperity will look after itself. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Grant.
Well, I think my answer might surprise you here because we are facing 35% tariffs in Canada right now because the U.S. president has asked us to clean up human trafficking and fentanyl production. That's actually a value question. He's asked us to fix our border, and we're dealing with those tariffs not because of economic issues, but because of failures to actually deal with the crime syndicates that are running these two issues. And our response from the Liberal government before the last election and from the leader of the Conservative Party was to undertake retaliatory tariffs to engage in a trade war because we can't clean up organized crime. And there's a lot of answers that I could give you about repatriating our industrial base and incentivizing entrepreneurship, but we have to look at the root issues. That's why those tariffs are there. We have to work with the Americans.
Thanks, Grant.
Well, I know I disagree with that, so we're just going to carry on. What I would like to see is our industrial base coming back. Why don't we have refineries here in Canada? Why can't we build our pipelines with Canadian steel? Why can't we do these things? Because we have bought and sold ourselves to the US. Well, that's now come back to bite us in the backside. The other thing I want to look at, besides bringing our industries back home to Canada, is I want to look at the government bloat. I want to look at MPs. When the top spender MP spends more than the next two combined, we have a problem. When our middle managers in bureaucracy somehow manage to save their jobs, but the frontline workers are gone, we have a problem. When lobbyists and corporations have invaded our government and they now run things, we have a problem. I am one voice, but I am a very loud voice, and I will fight for you.
Thanks, Bonnie. Michael.
So I want to raise of hands if possible. Who here in this room has struggled to pay your groceries? Got a couple of people in this room. Well, let me tell you, I've said it before and I'll say it again, this government is muzzling our businesses and our consumers here in this country. Right now, we have a communist policy known as supply management, which is trying to centralize our agriculture, which limits the production and sale of your poultry. If you like milk, if you like eggs, if you like anything that comes out of an animal, well, you can thank the government for those high prices because every farmer is limited on what they can produce every single year. And if they go over that quota, well, guess what? It's going to get dumped down the drain. I've talked to a lot of farmers over this election. I've talked to a lot of people in Three Hills where they have dumped thousands of liters of milk every single month just so they don't get in trouble from the government. If we want cheaper goods and more production here in this riding and in this province, we need to get rid of supply management now, not later. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Ashley.
Well, for me, the best way to answer this question on growth and prosperity is Canada needs to, one, diversify its trade partners, and two, we need a fair taxation system that actually benefits every person in this country and not just the corporations and the ultra-rich. We need to diversify our trade partners by looking to others in Europe, the BRICS countries, those Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, South America, things in Africa, and so on. Because as long as we're dependent upon the U.S. for so much of our trade and our economy, we're going to be at the whims of whatever tin pot dictator gets elected every 4 years. A fair taxation system would benefit every Canadian, every Albertan, and every person in this Battle River Crowfoot riding. We need to look at our people. We don't need to serve the corporations and make them richer.
Thanks, Ashley. All right, we are now going to take a 15-minute break. So I'm going to ask everybody to be back in their seats at 7:58, and we'll get started again at 8 o'clock. Thanks. Please take your seats, everybody, so we can get started again. Perfect. We're just going to get started again here right away. If you can take your seats, please. Thanks, everyone. So our next topic is crime and bail reform. Various reports show numerous repeat offenders well known to police arrested one day and simply granted bail and proceed to commit the same or similar crimes again. What is your plan to address the revolving door with our criminal justice system to reassure and provide security to the public who want stronger deterrence for repeat criminals? And we're starting with Darcy.
Wow, I get the after break question. It's a tough one. I do believe there is a balance between crime and bail reform. I think the present government is on the right track. I think there have been times when it has needed some adjusting. From a rural crime point of view, I've lived it. I've had equipment stolen from the farm. I've had small businesses lose their equipment right here in Drumheller, multiple times, same vehicle. And this is a problem, and I do believe it needs to be addressed with stronger measures. And I am an incoming wannabe MP, so I would represent what the needs are for this local riding. That is my duty. I would want to hear from you specifically. The situations I know of are personal, both from farm vehicles being stolen and from theft in town, and I would like to help on the government benches develop policy as a member from this riding in the government, which could happen on August 18th, or August 18th, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. Catherine.
So I was just looking up some stats here. I don't want to get too in detail of it, but the recidivism that's happening was actually showing that crime rates or repeat crime rates are actually down 2.23%, so that was interesting to see. But there needs to be more in place for things like mental health and addictions. I feel like these are some underlying issues for why we have these repeat criminals, and they're still Canadian citizens, they're still our family members, they're still our community members, and they deserve to be treated with just as much love and respect as the rest of us. I feel like if we were to create more programs and services for mental health and addictions, it would help fight crime more than, making harsher penalties. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Jeff.
Thank you for the question. It is ridiculous when someone who molests a child can go to jail for 3 years, but a woman who organizes a protest they can be looking for a 7-year sentence for it, or an 8-year sentence in the case of Mr. Barber. So there's very little justice in our legal system. That needs to change. We need laws that are enforced, and we need we need jail terms that are lived and time spent in jail. There needs to be, what's the word for it? It needs to be early release, needs to be a possibility to elicit good behavior from, but not ridiculous levels of it. Anyways, so we need lots of reform in our legal system. We need some justice in it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Grant.
Well, the truth is in Canada, we have a two-tier justice system. The convoy taught us that our Constitution and Charter of Rights and Freedoms means almost nothing. And we have people sitting in jail as political prisoners in this country, and pastors in Calgary, I might add, because they decided to protest debauched pornography inside a public library. And so we need to look at these issues and one asks exactly why it is this system's not working. And this is one of the main reasons when you look at the imbalance in our Constitution, the broken electoral system that we have in terms of always watching our Prime Minister be decided in Thunder Bay, that we actually need to look at Alberta independence and say, we can fix this, we can lose the crown, we can establish a constitutional republic here in Alberta and entrench the inalienable rights, because we have a corrupt system that is two-tiered. And we need to look at that closely for us.
Thanks, Grant.
Well, this is a toughie, because there needs to be balance within the system. There does need to be harsher sentences for the violent crimes. And bail revocation, revoking your bail if you're a repeat offender. But we also have to look at our statistics. We do, as Swampy said, the mental health and the addictions aspects. Because that will ultimately, believe it or not, cost us less money in the long run than just filling our jails that we have to feed them 3 times a day. If we can deal with some of these root causes, then I can see some reform happening. But I also would caution any of the executive branch from speaking and judging the judicial branch on how things go, and commenting on sentences is an American way to do things, and we are not American, ladies and gentlemen.
Our judicial system here in this country has failed us. Let me tell you a little story from a guy named Jimmy from Carbon, where he had a person that was trying to break into his house. He didn't know if he was going to hurt him. He didn't know if he was going to try to steal all of his belongings and run away. What he does know is that he had a gun, and he shot into the air to scare him away. He didn't hit him, didn't do any damage to the guy, and he got 10 months in prison for that. Would you like to take a guess on what the criminal got when he broke into his house? Nothing. He got let go. We as libertarians believe that you hold the right to self-defense, and we believe that Canada deserves a castle doctrine of its own in this country. Now, I'm going to sound a lot like Swampy here, where I feel like here in Drumheller we're a bit privileged, where we have the RCMP here to protect us. But there's a lot of rural communities that they're an hour or more away from having a police officer or constable come to your door to protect you. It's up to the individuals and those in the community to protect themselves, where our judicial system has failed. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Ashley.
Well, ultimately, I would say it doesn't take a genius to see that our criminal justice system is broken. You know, we have vastly different ideas up here on how it to be fixed. For me and the Green Party of Canada, it's that our current adversarial model doesn't work. We need to invest in research and help people in healing, accountability, and compassion. Because for too long, our justice system has relied on prisons that isolate people from their communities to force change on them, to try and create a more safe, secure society, but it doesn't create a more safe, secure society. It isolates people away from the communities that can actually help them, can actually integrate them back into their society and to be a better, safer area. Bail revocation keeps getting brought up again and again, but in reality, you know, stealing a chocolate bar from Dollarama isn't a death sentence, and with the amount of COVID that was swirling around when this bail reform came in, that's effectively what you were sentencing people to if you force them to stay in jail. So
Thanks, Ashley. Gary.
Crime was falling before this Liberal government took office. It's up 40% since they did. And the cause is very, very simple. It is actually people like to say it's complicated. It's not a complicated problem. It's a simple problem of a tiny group of criminals doing a phenomenal amount of crime. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times in 1 year. That's 150 arrests a year because they're automatically released under C-75, the catch and release bail law, which releases you before the paperwork on your arrest is done. C-5, which allows you to have house arrest for serious violent and sexual offenses. And C-83, which allows Paul Bernardo out of a maximum security penitentiary and into a medium security pen. I'll get rid of all those laws. I'll bring in 3 strikes, you're out, 3 violent offenses, there's no bail, parole, probation, or house arrest, and we will bring in real consequences for the people that are attacking our prison guards at the Drumheller pen. Those guards are heroes. They deserve to be protected, and the criminals deserve to be punished.
Thanks, Pierre. Just going to take a little pause for a second just so we can refresh the water for the candidates up here. We're making you sweat. No water for the candidates. All right, our next topic is under labor and workforce development. And the question is, with Canada's aging population, attracting and retaining talent is critical. How will you ensure Canada remains an attractive destination for skilled workers and entrepreneurs? And we'll start with Catherine.
So Canada's already a very attractive country. I know you're hearing a lot of people up here saying that Canada is broken, but we're not broken. We have a lot of wonderful things in our country. We need to change some, as I was just having a wonderful conversation, we do need to change some of our immigration so that we can attract more doctors, more nurses, more tradespeople. We can have people coming in that can help build the infrastructure that's currently failing, that can help build more houses, that can help with the people who are needing more, we'll say, in our communities. They're able to come in and fulfill those jobs that everybody is retiring and leaving open. And not just that, we have so much space available within our riding here. It's one of the largest ridings in Canada. There's more than enough space for people to come here and live here. I feel like if we were to allow them to come here, help build homes, help fix the current failing infrastructure,
Thanks, Catherine.
it would benefit everybody.
Jeff.
I hate to disagree with Catherine, but I believe Canada is broken. We're $2.5 billion in debt or something like that, including our unfunded liabilities, and on and on and on it goes. And to make this country more attractive to investors and immigrants, when we open up those gates again, we would need to again, reduce the size, scope, and role of government, reduce our income taxes to nothing eventually, replaced with a consumption tax. And I think people will be flocking for our borders, quite frankly. It's not rocket scientists, thank you. Or rocket science, I should say.
Thanks, Jeff. Grant.
Well, I think the big discussion for the immigrants that are coming to our nation is they have a dream that they have bought into called Canada. It's based upon truth, justice, the rule of law, the promise of prosperity, the promise of building a future for their children. And what's happening is that we're losing that dream for our own children. And it's just not taking very long for immigrants that are coming to this country to actually recognize that that is a struggle to attain. And now we have the low-income entry jobs where our own children can't actually get jobs and start their life. So I think this is the promise of Canada has actually been broken, and in some cases we're actually seeing immigrants that have come here leaving because it isn't the Canada that they were sold. And so these are the issues that we need to rethink and discuss across the plethora of issues in our nation.
Thanks, Brent. Bonnie.
Well, I've basically already answered this question. Because it is making sure that immigrants, skilled immigrants who come to this country are allowed to practice those skills. It's just that simple. The other thing we need to look at, as I said, is increasing trades, not just Canadian spots in schools, but immigration spots in schools. And I realize that student visas is very contentious and it's going to upset a lot of people, but this is not a bad thing. This is what brings in new and different perspectives. If you have done the same thing you've always done, you're always going to get the same result. As a member of the Commonwealth, I can go to the UK and a lot of my qualifications in the military will be recognized. A British soldier coming over here has to start basic again because of the red tape and the bloat that is in our bureaucracy.
Thanks, Bonnie. Michael. I feel like we've talked about this question at least 2 times by now, but I'll repeat myself if necessary. I have to ask, why would someone want to invest in this country when we have 2 socialist candidates here on this panel that have been talking about what those investors are going to gain by coming to this country, that they're going to be taxed and regulated out of the wazoo, that they have no real interest in wanting to invest into this province and into this community. What we really need is we need to lower our taxes, let businesses produce what they want to produce, and get the government the hell out of our way and out of our business. And as I said before, I am a student. I'm a pretty young guy, probably the youngest guy in this room right now. And let me tell you, they are not telling my generation the right things. They're telling me to not work in trades. They're telling me to not work a hard life. They're telling me the only way that my generation can get by is to get a degree. Even if it's a degree that is, I don't know, something that is sociology or something, you know? It's not actually productive. It's not here to help us. And at the end of the day, we're not providing productive people to this society because we're told to not be productive. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Ashley. So a few people on this panel have asked, is Canada broken? I'll say no. Canada was designed the way it is. It was designed to help the rich and the powerful. It was designed to help the corporations. It's not designed to help the average everyday person in this country. The Green Party has plans in place in our platform, that talk about raising income tax limits. So people making, you want to get taxed on the first $45,000 that you make. So more of your paycheck will go into your pocket to make your life easier. We have plans for a guaranteed livable income that will make life easier and better for everybody here. One of the biggest steps that we can take is properly taxing the rich and corporations so that we can actually subsidize the social safety net. Yeah, I am one of those socialists there you go, Michael, because it actually makes sense. But we need a society that serves everybody, and that'll make it a life a lot better for us instead of just serving the corporations. And to go back on something that Grant had said, drag queens are not pornography.
Thanks, Ashley. Here.
I saw a picture the other day online of a kid that is in a park with his dad, and the kid's crying. He's asked his dad, what is an income tax for him? And his dad said, well, it's just the opposite of your high school report card. The harder you work, the worse you do. Income tax is the fine you pay for the crime of working hard. And we have some of the highest taxes anywhere around. And you ask yourself, the most skilled people, the hardest working young people who've given their all to become an incredible tradesperson or an engineer, they're punished for that success staying here in Canada. That's why so many of them are leaving for opportunities in Ireland and Switzerland, and Singapore, and elsewhere around the world. If we want to bring those people home, we want our young people to stay here and have a good life, they need to be able to keep their paycheck, and they need good, sound money so that that earning actually keeps its value over time. And that's what we're going to do.
Thanks, Pierre. Darcy.
I believe a strong economy is the answer to most of the answers for labor and workforce. I know as far as I am as a Canadian, I have been transferred out of the country twice, and I've chosen to come back to my home because I prefer the system better here than I have had elsewhere. I hope we can make it that way for everybody in the country because it is a great country. I would like to be your local member of parliament on the government benches so that you will be heard at the government level immediately through me. That would be what I would attempt to do to try and hear what you need. Maybe it's small business here in Drumheller. Maybe there's arts community here. We have Rosebud out of the riding, but we do have a great passion play. There's all kinds of local things right here in Drumheller that are small businesses. Maybe they're spawned out of the revenues of oil and gas and farming. But this is a small business community, and I want to represent the interests of this community from this community in Ottawa. Thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. Our next topic is governance and representation. And the question is, what do you believe is the most important issue facing residents of Battle River Crowfoot, and how will you address it? And we'll start with Jeff.
We have far too much government in this country. I'll begin with that. And we need to represent the views of our people. So we need to consult our constituents, of course, and bring those voices to Ottawa, as has been said many times here by many people. But that is true. We don't need representatives from major parties that just bring the platform home to us and explain it to us, and that's the end of that's that. So we need government from the ground up, but we need good leadership as well. That is offered by the Christian Heritage Party of Canada, and I hope you'll take a little time to read our brochure. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Grant.
Well, my family fought and died to ensure that there was security and liberty in this world. And if you want to talk about governance, I think we really need to look at the fact that our own government is telling us that we will be something other than what you love, a post-nation state. That's exactly why the British people decided that they were losing their culture, values, traditions, control of their laws and borders, and left the post-national agenda of the EU. That is what's coming at Canada here by the Liberal government. It's unequivocal. We're being reset. Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney are fighting over how committed they are to the New World Order. When are we going to ever have a conversation about what a reset, New World Order, post-nationalism means? And that's our dreams going down the toilet. You want to talk about governance? That's where we start. And that's where the people of Battle River can change Canada with this vote.
Thanks, Grant. Bonnie.
So again, a lot of talk about national and international and all this stuff. Who here just wants to get up, grow their crops, raise their cattle, go open up their small business, and then go home at the end of the day and not have to worry about whether eating dinner or paying rent is what you're up to? Am I really far off, or is that where we're going here, folks? So high cost of living. Door to door to door to door. The high cost of living is what's killing us. It's what's killing our towns, it's what's killing our villages, and it's making our hamlets disappear. My intention is to address the roots of these. Right to repair, agricultural innovation, bringing in federal infrastructure grants so that your property taxes aren't raised so you can have paved roads. My goal is to bring down your cost of living.
Thanks, Bonnie. Michael.
I feel like I'm going to repeat myself a lot in this debate, but let me tell you, if anyone has lived in this country, the number one issue in this riding and beyond is taxes. You pay taxes when you go to the store. You have to pay taxes when you come home from work. It's in from your paycheck. You pay taxes every single time you go to, I don't know, you want to donate something or you want to go and support your community. You have to pay money on that. If you want to invest in something, you want to build your own infrastructure, you have to pay taxes on that. Taxes are a very big thing that is destroying this community and destroying this riding. And number two, a lot of people are afraid at the end of the day that their dollar is not going to be worth anything come, 10 years, because we have a Liberal government that keeps printing money out of the wazoo. We want to be able to have a strong currency in this country, and we're going to be doing that by bringing back the gold standard and bringing value back to your currency. So that way you don't lose value in your dollar. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Ashley.
So I would assume one of the most important things in the minds of BRC residents is probably your access to healthcare, your access to housing, if you're a farmer or small business owner, it's your access to markets. A green government, which not that likely, but a green MP for Battle River Crowfoot could advocate for you every single day. We're a non-whipped party, so I would be your voice doing what you need to be done in Ottawa. Healthcare is atrocious. In Alberta alone, there's something like 900,000 people that don't have access to a family doctor. I checked it out earlier today. There's only 2 family doctors in Drumheller taking new patients right now. How many people in this town have to wait months, have to go 100, 150 kilometers just to see a doctor? It's absurd what people in rural communities are being forced to live with because big parties look where the massive amounts of people are in the urban centers.
Thanks, Ashley. Here.
I was talking to the waitress in Stettler the other day, and then I found out she's also a teacher. And she's also a farmer and a rancher, all at the same time. She does all those jobs. She said she used to be able to save $1,000 a month. Now, she does all of that, and there's nothing left in her bank account at the end of the month. I talked to an oil worker sharing a mobile home with his friend in Tofield because he can't afford his own place. These stories repeat themselves again and again. The question, though, is why? The cost of making things has gone way down, but the price of buying them has gone way up. The only one who's pointed out why is young Michael Harris here. The government is creating cash. They're printing money. And no one is worse than central banker Mark Carney, who caused an inflation crisis in Britain, and now is even worse than Justin Trudeau here at home. He must cut the government waste, end the money printing, bring in sound money so those hardworking people keep the purchasing power that they earn.
Thanks, Pierre. Darcy.
I realize there's not as many farmers in the room as there are probably small businessmen, but I'm going to go back to a simple farming principle. I would actually like my canola to be worth more than $700 a ton, and my fertilizer to cost less than $1,200 a ton. So this whole economic thing is a matter of prices, receiving and paying. We want to pay less, we want to receive more. And this is called economic balance. And I think the government is doing a credible job of balancing those two and making it as reasonably good for both sides of that. I think the Build Canada Strong movement of going east and west is very important. Just drop some of those tariffs and trade with ourselves. I think we have a unique opportunity in time to be united on this, and we need to celebrate local technology, local small businesses who are the best at efficiency, at production, and innovation. I've been there, and I would like to be your local member of parliament on the government side to represent you.
Thanks, Darcy. Catherine.
I don't know about you, but I can't stand sitting here being lectured about affordability when someone doesn't have to pay rent and they get to live in Stornoway for absolutely free. With somebody who's taking care of the yard, with somebody who's taking care of the groceries, with somebody who's taking care of the kids, with somebody who's doing all of the cooking and cleaning. But I did talk to people at the door. They are concerned about affordability. So I will fight for the people, not billionaires. We want to see you get ahead, not them. To make your life more affordable, New Democrats will put more money in people's pockets with a tax cut targeted to those who need it most. We'll take GST off the essentials that family need, like groceries, heating your home, cell phone bills, and put price caps on groceries that you need and build homes that you can afford. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. So our last question of the night, the topic is fostering responsible government. Federal debt is at record levels, and rising interest payments could lead to higher taxes or reduced services. What is your plan to reduce the national debt while avoiding further tax burdens on businesses? And we're going to start with Grant.
We don't know what our budget is in Canada, so that's a very hard question to answer. I'm not exactly sure why the throne speech was approved without a budget, but it was. That's a discussion for the Conservative Party, I think. I think for me, it's about telling you the truth and actually saying that we are moving quickly towards a failed state in this country, in the fact that we actually cannot identify or manage what is going on in this nation. And so for me, when I look at this challenge, I say the only thing that is actually salvageable, as I see it, is Alberta and possibly Saskatchewan along with it. Because if you have $20 billion, you can take care of all Mr. Poilievre's friends that don't have any savings anymore, and we can start to deal with some of these issues. And you know what? This confederation is broken. It has a rotten basement. And I think that Central Canada needs to start to recognize that enough is enough.
Thanks, Brad. Bonnie.
I would like to freeze MP salaries. Do I think that's going to happen? We'll see. But if they want my vote on critical bill, that is palatable. If it is something that you folks say, okay, you know what, we can do increased defense spending, let's not freeze the soldiers' pay this time, let's freeze the MP's pay. Let's look at MP expenses. Again, my one question to Mr. Poilievre is he going to pay back all the money from squatting in Stornoway? Because right now, you and I are paying for his rent, folks. But the other one, and I've said it before, I'll say again, government bloat. Deal with the middle managers who always somehow make the frontline workers disappear while they keep their cushy jobs. That is where I would start. That and MP pay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bonnie. Michael.
Stole the words right out of my mouth, Bonnie. I'm not running for a pension. I'm not running for a wage. I'm here to represent you the best I can, free of charge. I'm not here wanting to steal your tax dollars. But let me tell you what's wrong with this country. This country is broke. We're actually worse than broke. We're not only not making money right now because we're running a deficit, but at the same time we're also in debt. So we don't have any money. At the end of the day, to get more money, we either have to get bonds, print it, or, I don't know, sell off our private assets, which ultimately hurts our country. And if we want to reduce taxes like me as a libertarian want to do, we also have to cut spending. Because if we don't, we're just going to have higher taxes later. And I keep trying to debate a lot of my liberals on my UFC campus, and they can't tell me how running both a deficit and being in debt at the same time is sustainable, because it's not. At the end of the day, it's going to hurt my generation the most. There might be some people in this room that might not live to see it, but this country is on the verge of collapse. And we need to manage our finances better, like a business, but not as a communist state. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Ashley.
So for me, and I think the Green Party would agree with me as well here, is that a way for us to pay down our debt and to better fund our country is to properly tax the rich. To actually cannot talk tonight. I definitely should have taken a nap this afternoon. Jeez. So for the Green Party, it's a fair taxation system. We want to drastically lower the taxes for Canadians earning $100,000 or less. We also need to increase corporate tax rate from 14% to 21% for businesses with profits over $100 million or $44 billion in revenue. We'll create $44 billion in revenues by doing that. With that money, we can pay down our debt. We can properly fund our society.
Thanks, Ashley. Here.
This current Liberal government has actually doubled our national debt. They've added more debt than all prior governments combined, going back to our Confederation. Now, some people thought Mark Carney was going to be different. He was going to be a tight-fisted banker. Well, he's actually increased spending faster than Trudeau. It's up 8% this year, and that's entirely a fiscal year under his watch. More money for corporate welfare, more money for bureaucracy. Consultants get 37% more money under his spending plan for this year alone. Well, when we were in government under Stephen Harper, we balanced the budget. We cut back on the bureaucracy and on the consultants. And when we are in government next time, we will be cutting bureaucracy, consultants, corporate welfare, foreign aid, handouts to fraudulent refugee claimants, and more, and we will bring in a dollar-for-dollar law so that the government must always find a dollar of savings for every new dollar of spending. Thank you.
Thanks, Pierre. Darcy.
I would like to talk about a specific cost reduction issue. 3 months ago, I was happily living my life, and then suddenly a by-election was called, which is costing us a lot of money because somebody lost his job. We don't need this. And frankly, we don't need the extra cost of security to protect us in this election. You know, I've traveled to a lot of countries in the world, and we have people who've died as Canadians fighting for our freedom for free and fair election. But I've got lots of people intimidated around here. We have candidates who've been threatened. We have the RCMP who've been called. I have never seen such a show, except in other countries that aren't Canada, and our democracy is at risk if we keep busing people in to boo people at rallies and hiss. If we keep trespassing at lawn signs and having to call the police for littering. So,
Thanks, Darcy.
Thank you.
Kathleen. Sorry?
This question started with me.
The question is, federal debt is at record levels and rising interest payments could lead to higher taxes or reduced services. What is your plan to reduce the national debt while avoiding further tax burdens on businesses?
Slashing public services right now is the last thing regular Canadians need. Cuts to healthcare or education mean underfunded services and getting worse. And if you're going to talk to anyone in Battle River Crowfoot, you know that that's not going to fly. Mr. Polyev and Mr. Carney are both planning cuts that will make their billionaire buddies happy and hurt the rest of us. It's hard to even imagine thinking that cutting from our services to balance the budget is the right choice at a difficult moment like this. They both promised costly tax giveaways for millionaires. This isn't the time to cut. This is the time to spend on things that we need. It's the time to protect jobs, whether that's a nurse or her neighbor who works in the auto sector. Decades of liberal and conservative cuts have left communities with infrastructure deficits and have left people struggling with inadequate public services.
Thanks, Catherine. Jeff.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a resource-rich country like Canada, there was never any reason for any province or the Federation to go into debt. It was absolutely irresponsible. We need to reduce the size, scope. I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I apologize, but we do need to reduce the size, scope, and role of our government, address our debt, eliminate our deficit, reduce our debt, and reduce our taxes, and make this a thriving country in which to immigrate to and live, work, and do business in. And we can begin to reduce our expenses by eliminating the funding of abortion and sex change operations and things like that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. So that concludes our question period. So I'm now going to ask each candidate to approach this microphone and summarize his or her political platform. Each candidate will have 1 minute. The order of speaking will be the same as at the start of the evening when we drew cards. So I'm going to ask Darcy Spady, the Liberal Party of Canada, to come forward.
Thanks for sitting through this, everybody. I appreciate it. I hope it was something beneficial to you. My name is Darcy Spady. I'm from Three Hills, and I don't want to be Prime Minister. I want to be your representative government for East Central Alberta. I want to celebrate Battle River Crowfoot and what we do well. We're the best in the world in energy production. We're the best in the world in energy transition. We're the best in the world in agriculture. We're the best in the world in small business. We have tourists from around the world. We're celebrating 40 years of the museum. I want this riding to be seen again and to be known in the federal government, and I will represent you from the government benches. I want to be a constructive MP that wants to get things done and not just the showmanship of question period. On August 18th, vote Darcy Spady.
Thanks, Darcy. Next, I'm going to call Grant Abraham, United Party of Canada.
Thank you. Well, I'll say this. If income tax is the reward for working hard, Equalization is the reward that will build your cage. And we're facing a Canada that is increasingly tyrannical. Laws are being passed that are impeding your freedoms. Our Constitution, our Charter of Rights are almost mean nothing. And that is exactly the two-tier system that we're talking about. We have an Ottawa that will refuse to stay in its lane. We have a gentleman here that is actually offered to legalize your right that is already yours to buy a truck. If you listen carefully to that, I'll legalize your life. We need to move to actually redeeming our future, our grandchildren's future, stand up and ensure a secure Alberta that can actually ensure a secure Canada. Because this country is tipping, we're moving to a failed state, and it's going to hurt our entire nation. The Liberal government has done it. The Conservative Party has enabled it.
Thanks, Frank. Next, I'm calling on Jeff Willerton, Christian Heritage Party of Canada.
Ladies and gentlemen, in my opening statement, I explained how the Tories and Liberals have been working together for decades to bring us to our current state of affairs. This, of course, includes society's embrace of the culture of death in which we abort our future, indoctrinate and sexually mutilate our youth, and euthanize our past. If you're content with these policies, you have a lot of choices in this election, but I'm not one of them. If you elect me, millions of Canadians will learn of the Christian Heritage Party for the first time. Some good pro-life Tory MPs will probably cross the floor to it, and God willing, we'll run a full slate of candidates in the next general election, making that election a de facto referendum on these and many other issues on which we have until now had no say. The choice is yours. As C.S. Lewis said, when you're on the wrong road, the smart thing to do is turn around, find the right road, and continue thereon. My name is Jeff Willerton. I believe the Christian Heritage Party is that right road, and I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, going to call on Ashley McDonald, Green Party of Canada.
Hi, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Basically, this is one of those ridings in Canada that gets neglected by whatever party is in power, either Liberal Party or Conservative Party. It's because you're considered a die-hard Conservative riding, so the Conservatives don't need really to do anything to win your vote, and the Liberals know they're not going to get it, so they do the bare minimum. You know, if you really want to show Ottawa to listen to you and make them actually hear your voices and do what's right for your constituency, I'm just going to flat out say it, don't vote Conservative, don't vote Liberal. Vote for one of the parties up here or an independent. Show them what you actually want to be heard and what you need, and watch the money flow into this riding, because they will do their best to try and win you back. I'm Ashley McDonald. You can probably spell it with an MC and I'll get away with it on the ballot. So, you know, you really want to freak people out, vote Green.
Thanks, Ashley. Next, I'll call on Bonnie Critchley, Independent.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank the Chamber of Commerce of Drumheller, and with the assistance of the Chamber of Commerce of Hannah, for putting this on today. So let's give them a real quick round of applause. It is very important that your voices be heard. So whether you vote for me, or whether you vote for any one of these candidates, you need to go out and you need to vote. What I will say is, I do have a very loud voice. And as an independent in a current minority government, I would be able to do something that no one else here could, except the unwhipped parties. If you buy into what one of these parties that you whip tell you, well, you do the same thing, you're going to get the same result. But I will point out that a very loud voice on the national stage isn't very loud if he's at the lowest number of approval in the history of Conservative leaders, or if we're back here in January.
Bonnie. Next, I'll call in Michael Harris, Libertarian Party of Canada.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce as well for hosting this event, and I'd also like to thank all the candidates that actually showed up to this debate as well too. I'd like to thank everybody that made it to this event as well too. But honestly, I'm running because I'm sick and tired of the federal government taking everything out of me and my family's pockets. And I'm going around during this election talking to as many people as I can. I've talked to I'd say about 6,000 people so far. And I think they're all libertarians at the end of the day, even if they don't think that they are. Because they have been robbed at all levels. They've been robbed of their freedom. They've been robbed of their life. They've been robbed of their finances. And they're told that only the government can give it back to them. And I disagree. If you believe in the ideas of liberty, family, and independence, Alberta that fights for its own, an Alberta that has the right to self-determination, is willing to fight against supply management and equalization, I ask on August 18th, you vote Libertarian and vote me, Michael Harris. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Now I'll call in Pierre Poilievre, Conservative Party of Canada.
Thank you very much to the organizers and most of all to the great people of Battle River Crowfoot. It has been a privilege to travel to all of the towns, the hamlets, the villages, and get to know the people even better. You know, I was born in Calgary, and Calgary's different than Drumheller, even though it's not that far away. But we do have the shared values, the faith, family, and freedom. And many of the same local issues that require national leadership. And it will require national leadership to fight for the people here and the rural way of life, to fight for your right to drive a gas or diesel powered pickup truck, which the Liberals want to abandon, to fight for the energy sector, for your right to own and use firearms responsibly, for law and order, for a stronger military. These are local issues that require national leadership, and it would be a privilege for me to offer you both. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pierre. Next, I'll call on Catherine Swampney, New Democratic Party.
All right, well, thank you all so much for coming out to show your support, whether it's for myself or for any of the candidates that are up here. Thank you so much to Drumheller and District Chamber of Commerce for setting up this forum so that you guys can get informed from the candidates themselves. Thank you so much to all of the candidates who are here, as well as the ones who are not up here. I know that we have a ridiculous amount of candidates, but thank you to those who did show up. And I just want to say there's a lot of stuff that's on my platform that I didn't actually get to talk about. So one of the things that was coming up as I'm out there door knocking is there's a lot of women that are facing domestic violence, and there was some significant cuts to the status of women and gender equality ministry. So I'm very concerned with that. And then I found out, and I don't know how true this is, but we have one women's shelter in the entire riding, and I don't think that's okay. These are issues that are very important to the people at their doors. I just wanted to advocate for them. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Catherine. Well, I think I went 2.5 minutes over time, so sorry about that. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. Thank you especially all the candidates for coming out. I think everybody deserves a big round of applause for all the time and effort that they put into this. So thank you very much. Please remember, Election Day is Monday, August 18th. Polling stations will be open from 8:30 in the morning to 8:30 at night. Advanced polls are open Friday, August 8th, through till Monday, August 11th, so that's this Friday through till next Monday, from 9 to 9 in Drumheller here. It's at the Canalta Jurassic Hotel, 1103 Highway 9 South in Drumheller. Again, I just want to thank all the candidates for joining us and all of you for being here and engaging in this important democratic process. Also, thank you to our volunteers, including those from the Hannah District Chamber of Commerce and our host, the Drumheller District Chamber of Commerce. This concludes our forum for today. Please note that the facility closes at 9 o'clock, so hopefully you guys can clear out in a hurry because we got to be out of here. Thank you and good night.